Okay, hello everybody and welcome. Are you curious about what's happening in real estate or local events or happenings or what it's like living in Northwest Indiana? Well, if that sounds like you've come to the right place. Welcome to the Word Around Town, episode 14. I'm Steve Jamrock with Realty Executives Premier, your host. And in this podcast, I like to talk a little bit about real estate and a lot about what's going on in our Northwest Indiana communities. And first of all, Happy New Year. Happy 2026. I hope you all had a very safe and fun time ringing in the new year. Me personally, I was at home, spent it at home this year with the wife and dog and our middle daughter while our other two kids were off doing their own thing. And had a very nice, relaxing time. Good dinner. Watched the Stranger Things finale, which I thought was awesome. We didn't make it to the ball drop in downtown Crown Point, unfortunately, but we did get to see the fireworks show that Crown Point put on. I guess that's one of the benefits of living in downtown Crown Point and get to watch a lot of the festivities from the comfort of your own front porch. But let me tell you, hats off to the city of Crown Point. They put on a fantastic fireworks show. Definitely rivaled 4th of July. It was really good. It was long. Fireworks at midnight on New Year's Eve. It was really fantastic. So again, hats off to the city of Crown Point. And for those of you that went downtown for the ball drop in Crown Point, please let me know how it was. Leave those thoughts in the comments below. I do want to try to make it next year. My wife hates the cold weather, so with the ice pelting us on New Year's Eve, she was like, nah, we're just going to sit this one out. So we stayed home and had a really good time. But for those of you that went down and saw the ball drop, please let me know how it was. A lot of people I talked to already said it was a really great time, but want to hear from you. Leave those in the comments below. So we have a lot to talk about, a lot of catching up to do. I took the last couple of weeks off from podcasting as we finished up the end of the year and with the holidays. So I want to start off by letting you know I got some exciting news to share with you. This podcast is now on Spotify. I got it uploaded onto Spotify, so you can go ahead and take this podcast with you now wherever you go. I will go ahead and leave a link to the Spotify channel in the comments below that you can go ahead and get to, or you can go to the Spotify, just type in Steve Jamrock. Remember, that's Jamrock with no C in the last name, and it should pop right up there. And if you have any problems or need some help there, just let me know. I can always send you a link personally as well. Also, this year, I'm going to try to do this podcast a little bit different. Went back, watched some of the old episodes there, and while I was happy with them, I felt like sometimes I came across almost a little newsy and just kind of reading and scripted. So I want to keep this a little more shoot from the hip, share more of my thoughts and opinions on the items that we're talking about here in the podcast. But one of the issues with that is I tend to get a little wordy. I ramble a little bit, kind of go off on some tangents. So I will work on that over the first couple of episodes this year, but it might be a little rough to get started. I might ramble on and stop real quick. If I catch myself, I apologize, but I will definitely I think the benefits of just kind of shooting from the hip and giving you my opinions and thoughts unscripted as we go forward is going to lead to a much, much more fun podcast here in the future. So also want you guys to be interactive with it as well. So continue to leave those comments, reaching out. Let me know what you want to hear about, what you want to talk about in Northwest Indiana. Leave those in the comments. Message me directly. Remember, I want to make this podcast about you and what you want to know is going on in our Northwest Indiana real estate markets and our Northwest Indiana communities as well. So in this week's episode, we're going to kick things off talking about real estate, and Google is testing the waters of the home search portals. We'll talk about that a little bit. And also, why do consumers prefer large tech search sites over realtor sites? Very curious. I'm going to discuss with you the top 8 things that I'm watching that could affect our real estate market in 2026. We'll take a deep dive there. And then the dreams of the Bears moving to Northwest Indiana, well, they're not dead yet. INDOT has a plan to fix congestion along the 8094 corridor, but will it work? While the state is looking to add tolling to our interstate highways. That's going to be an interesting conversation. There's talk of a new second entrance to the Indiana Dunes State Park. Data centers continue their march into Northwest Indiana. And in Michigan City, is the SoLa luxury development dead or just stalled? Crown Point boys basketball, they're very good. We'll talk about them. And registration is open for spring baseball leagues here in Northwest Indiana. You do not want to delay. They fill up quickly. So, all right, sit back, relax, and let's talk about real estate in Northwest Indiana. And we're going to go ahead and get started with real estate first. Google is testing the waters into the home search portals. So Google announced recently, and I'm not sure how it's going to work exactly, but they're beta testing in certain markets the ability to search from homes on your Google page. So I imagine the way it's going to work, and kind of the way that I read that it's going to work, is that, you're searching along, and along the top of the page, will be property listings that you can go ahead and click on and interest you. And how they determine what property listings you see will probably be based on, your location or what you're actually searching for. I'm not quite sure if it's going to pop up just randomly, or if it's only going to be when you search for specific properties and it's going to show you nearby properties. Again, that's a lot of information that needs to be worked out yet. But the main thing is that Google finds this interesting enough to finally test the waters into doing this. And it just kind of, again, goes to show you that these big tech companies find a lot of value in you searching for properties. And why do you think that is? It's because they want your data and your information, and that is what is valuable to them. So they're going to put out this very fancy, great, easy-to-use product for you guys. But in return, you're going to give up your data and your information for them to sell. And that brings me to my next question is, why do you, the consumer, prefer to use these large tech companies, their search sites, over realtor search sites? It's very interesting to me in this day and age that we continue, and it could just be habit. And I will admit that starting off, when I started in real estate, that was 2003. And yeah, the way that we searched for homes or sent you links or sent you properties was it wasn't very user-friendly. And that was, hey, the internet was still evolving. Tech was just coming in there, and then Zillow came onto the scene, and they put out a very, very user-friendly, easy-to-use product. And the real estate industry, quite honestly, was far behind what Zillow was putting out there. But again, what they did is they captured and used data that they didn't even own. They got it from the realtors and put it out there in an easy-to-use system for you to use and scroll and do your home search. But again, you're giving up their data and your information for them to use and sell. And that continues to be a very valuable commodity to them. But moving forward and jumping here 23 years into the future here, and nowadays, realtor sites are just as good, and if not better at sometimes, at doing certain functions than some of these large search portals like Zillow or Realtor.com or Homes.com, etc. And the information that we have is coming straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak, from realtors, while these secondary sites are pulling their information from us, and then they're adding in their own bells and whistles to keep you entertained and going to their sites because you think it's cool. Zillow did a great job of dangling that Zestimate in front of you guys, like, hey, I can get my home value whenever I want. But they didn't tell you that home Zestimate was probably going to be wrong. But anyway, I digress here. Again, tech sites, they're out there trying to collect your information. And I know another reason consumers went to these sites is, wow, I can search for homes without having to talk to a realtor, without having a salesy realtor contact me all the time and bombard me with questions and try to get me to sell my house or buy a new house. I could just go ahead and look whenever I want. And that was great for a while, but that's the fascinating thing is that these tech portals is they had the information out there, but then when you do have a question on a property or want to see a property, what are you doing? You're clicking a button on their site, and who are you connected with? a realtor. So again, it still mystifies me why you would not have that realtor in your pocket, that realtor that you know and trust, that's ready to go when you have a question and you can go ahead and contact them and get that answer as opposed to just getting somebody randomly. So again, as we move forward here, just really curious. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Again, leave those in the comments below why you prefer to use a site like Zillow or Realtor.com over a personal realtor's search site. And a site that I use for my clients is a site called Real Scout. It's very intuitive. It's only for realtors, and then it's an invite-only site. So I invite my clients to join this search site, and it's an awesome site. It's very user-friendly, very intuitive, and they just integrated a great AI search for us that we can go ahead and really narrow down your home search almost on a minute level on what you're looking for. So it's really a step forward, a very, very great platform to use. And the best thing is that we don't go ahead and sell your data or information when you search on these sites. And then you also have your neighborhood, local, friendly realtor ready to go when you do have questions. So again, love to hear why you prefer these sites. Maybe you just don't know that there's other sites available out there. And well, I'm here to tell you that there are. I'm going to go ahead and in the comments below, I'm going to put a link to my Real Scout home search site. I hope you check it out. Log in there if you like. If you have questions about it, feel free to reach out. But I think you'll find that there's a lot of sites out there that are just as good, if not better, than these mega sites that are trying to collect and steal your data on a daily basis. And that's all that's important to them from you. Whereas myself as a realtor, hey, we're here to help. I want to answer your questions. I want your home search to go as good as it can. So even if you're not in the market to buy or sell a home, you want to search, you want to scroll, check out my Real Scout site. Again, link's going to be below there. I think you'll be impressed, and that way you don't have to worry about having your more and more of your information and data shared by the big tech companies. So, all right, let's take a deep dive into our Northwest Indiana real estate markets, and more importantly, the major factors that I'm looking for in 2026, and those items that could kind of shape and affect our market here moving forward. And the first one we're going to talk about is interest rates. And we got some exciting news with interest rates to start the year. They actually to end the year. They finished 2025 at their lowest level since October of 2024. Freddie Mac mortgage survey that came out right before the end of the year showed that the 30-year fixed rate mortgage was at 6.15%. Now, again, it's important to remember that's an average, and the interest rate that you may get quoted is going to be very specific to your situation. So while we talk about interest rates coming down, again, they all depend upon your situation. You could be quoted less, you could be quoted more. But the main factor is that overall rates are on a downward trend. So that is really good news. Now, we don't have a crystal ball moving forward, so we don't know what rates are going to do here in 2026. Over the last couple of years, most experts predicted that rates would already be down under 6%, and that just didn't happen. They went the other way. And that's kind of what economists and experts are kind of predicting this year. You got a handful over here that are saying, oh, rates are to come down. This is the year that we're going to be under 6%. And then we got the other handful over here that are saying, oh, rates are going to go up. But the main thing to remember is, if buying a home is in your plans for 2026, don't try to time the market. Purchase a home when it's right for you, when it fits your needs and your goals. Historically, over time, most people, you may get lucky. Absolutely. A lot of people do get lucky, but the majority of people historically tend to lose out when they try to time the market. So either home prices go up or rates go up, or they get that low rate and values are up, whatever. Again, historically, over time, you lose out if you try to time the market. So if you're going to purchase a home, do it when it fits your needs and your goals, and do not try to time your market. Now, the other thing I want to say about rates is, while it is exciting that rates are coming down, we do want a gradual decline. If rates do come down too fast, we are still dealing with a housing inventory crunch, which we're going to talk about next. But if rates come down too fast, that buyer demand that is still very strong here in Northwest Indiana will come off the sidelines very quickly, and home prices will rise rapidly. And that's something we really want to avoid again, getting in the bidding wars and that nightmare scenario that a lot of you as home buyers faced in the right after the pandemic of the early 2020s. So we really want to make sure that interest rates kind of come down gradually, don't come down too quickly, so that home prices don't accelerate rapidly again. Now, housing inventory, that's the second thing we'll be watching for 2026. And again, we're still seeing a historic low inventory level here, not only nationwide, but here in Northwest Indiana as well. And I know a lot of you are saying, what are you talking about, Steve? I drive around all the time and I see new construction here, new development here, new houses here. How can we be low on inventory? Well, we are. Buyer demand is strong. Migration continues from Illinois, which we'll talk about next. But home builders are still well behind the pace that they need to be as demand outpaces what they can supply here. And pre-existing home sales and pre-existing inventory is really low at the moment, as well as many of you are sitting on those historically low 3-4% interest rates. And I know you don't want to give those up. And even if you wanted to move, we're hesitating because A, you have a low interest rate, and B, what is there on the market that you currently like? That's kind of, we're in that little quagmire of housing inventory, whereas new construction is struggling to keep up with demand because they're not building homes rapidly anymore due to building costs and permitting costs. They're building houses per order. So if you have 6 months to wait for that new construction, fine, that's great. But for a lot of you out there, that doesn't fit your timeline. And so we need to go the pre-existing route. And again, it's not out there, not available. Not to mention that new construction, while they are coming along and building, prices of new construction homes are rising. They're not slowing down there as, again, building costs and permit costs continue to rise as well. So even though home builders are putting out some great incentives, the prices of those homes are going up because of that as well. So housing inventory is a concern here for 2026. Hopefully that we can get interest rates down a little bit. That will incentivize some of you to go ahead and make a move. We still will have people that will have life events that will have to move. So I do anticipate a moderate increase in housing inventory in 2026. But again, demand is still so strong out there that not sure that's going to really make a dent in home prices. So on to that buyer demand. Buyer demand remains strong through 2025, although very selective and much more patient than they were in previous years. So home buyers are definitely taking their time until they find that home that fits their needs. And then when they find that home that fits, that is I'll say the perfect home or as close to perfect as can be, then they move rapidly. They jump on that home and ready to go. So sometimes you do still get homes out there that fit needs, 1-2 days on the market, and we're in multiple offer scenarios. Other times we're seeing homes sit for 30-40 days now. So it still kind of depends on what buyers are looking for out there. Well cared for homes, well maintained homes are still outperforming other homes on the market. And then migration from Illinois for 2026. Yeah, we should still see a steady migration. Actually, I'm talking to a lot of colleagues right now. They've actually seen an increase in calls and inquiries from buyers from Illinois who are trying to get ahead of the property tax increases that are coming along there. So as Illinois continues to get overtaxed, they continue to come over here to this side of the border in Indiana. So again, that buyer demand should remain strong through 2026 as well, which means home values will continue to rise unless we get some kind of drastic inventory onto the market. We saw some good home appreciation throughout all of our communities in Northwest Indiana for 2025. I think every community that I looked at saw a positive increase in home values. And although home values are rising at a more moderate pace, they are still increasing. And again, due to that strong demand and lack of inventory, we should continue to see another year of appreciation here in Northwest Indiana. Now, one of the big concerns for me outside of housing inventory is the rising cost of non-mortgage housing costs. So that would be homeowners insurance, property taxes, utilities, home repair and improvement costs. Those are all going up. And especially when you look at home insurance and utilities. Yeah, property taxes are going up, but that's a reflection of your home's value. So in a way, it's a little bit of a wash because you're getting that back in the equity. But insurance and property taxes, insurance is doubling for a lot of people. It's getting crazy out there. It doesn't seem to be stopping as they continue to try to recoup claims for some of the catastrophes they've had over the recent years. And then utilities. Utilities continue to go up as they're trying to recoup the cost from updating their infrastructure for the need for more power, and that these data centers that are moving in here to Northwest Indiana and around the nation as well. This isn't just an Indiana problem. This is a nationwide problem with utilities, that they continue to pass the cost of improving their infrastructure for providing more electric or gas to the customer. So these utility costs and home insurance costs are an issue to watch for 2026, because again, many of you bought those homes in the early 2020s. You had a great low payment, so you bought a big house that you can afford at that time, but nobody really budgeted for utilities or insurance to double or more in some cases there. So if these costs continue to kind of escalate as quickly as they have over the last year, that could be a concern for a lot of you out there. So we'll be watching that very closely as we move through 2026. Schools is another one that has caught my attention here as we move into 2026, because our schools here in Indiana were dealt a big blow this year with a loss of funding due to some legislation here in Indiana. And because of that, our schools have to rapidly adapt and move to make up for that funding. And here in Indiana, you can't just go ahead and raise property taxes to make up for that funding. And that was part of the reasons this new Senate Enrolled Act 1 was passed as well, to make it a little bit more difficult for these referendums and to stay away from property taxes. So in turn, again, schools have had to get a little bit of creative, and it will be interesting to see how schools react here moving forward through the next year or two. But again, and this isn't trying to be political about schools and property taxes. I want to state the fact about schools that here in Indiana, one of the main reasons people tell me that they want to relocate or move to Indiana is because the quality of our school systems. And whether you feel our schools are using their funds wisely or not, that's up to you. A lot of our schools here, and especially here in Crown Point and some of the other surrounding communities, have used these referendums and funds to attract quality educators, which have kept our school systems at the higher levels. So what's important to understand is that the quality of that school system matters to each and every community, because the quality of that school system has a direct impact on your home's value. So whether you have kids in school or not, I don't care what you feel about property taxes and budgeting, etc. If you do not have a quality school system in your community, or if that school system should start to fail because of a lack of funds for whatever reason, it will have an impact on your home's value. So the only true question really is, do you want it to have a positive impact on your home's value or a negative? So really pay attention to what's going on with schools and school funding here in Indiana moving forward. We definitely want to make sure that we keep quality schools here in our Northwest Indiana communities. All right, data center development. I can't go a week without talking about AI and data centers. Again, I know Hobart, you are still fighting a $12 billion Amazon data center that wants to relocate to Hobart, and local municipalities are very welcoming. I know Hobart residents have been against this data center, while the administration is pushing for the data center to come there because they see the deep pockets of these tech companies, and they do have deep pockets, and it is very hard for local government to pass on that immediate impact of tax dollars up front that they can get from these developments. So again, it will be very interesting to watch. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. It's going to be a continued battle with residents against local government and these data centers throughout 2026, and probably even more so in the future. But from a excuse me, from a realtor perspective on this, I'm going to look at it a little bit differently. Whether you feel like data centers belong or not, they take up a lot of land, and that is land that could be used for housing developments that are needed here in Northwest Indiana. So that's something that concerns me about data centers here in 2026 is the amount of land and space that they take up and the number of data centers that continue to come in here. So as I just talked about housing affordability and housing values and housing inventory, if we continue to put large industrial developments onto land throughout Northwest Indiana, where are new homes going to be built here in the future? So that's something that's concerning to me here in 2026 as well, just from a different point of view as far as data centers go. And lastly, we're going to keep a very close eye on the federal housing policy. Washington has come out and said that they want to be aggressive, battling housing affordability here in the early part of 2026. And they've kind of let out a couple rumors of things that they've wanted to combat rising home prices with here. And we'll get into those here in a second. And they have one that actually came out with a little breaking news today we'll talk about. But the first one was capital gains tax reform. I think this is a great idea. If they could reduce and or eliminate the capital gains tax, this would almost immediately add inventory to the market, as people wouldn't be as concerned about losing equity from their house and having to pay taxes on that equity. I think that is a really, really good one here. I hope that they can do something with capital gains tax reform, which hasn't been touched in decades. And then portable mortgages was another one. This one is very interesting, but has a lot of moving parts. Portable mortgage would be, you are sitting in your house with your 3% mortgage. You want to move, but you don't want to give up that low mortgage rate. Well, in this situation, you would be able to take that low mortgage rate with you to your new property. Now, again, there's a lot of moving parts. I'm not exactly sure how that would work as far as appraisals, et cetera. I will have to probably talk to a couple of my good mortgage partners here who can kind of fill me in a little bit better. But again, it's an interesting concept. Not sure if the amount of moving parts is going to be able to make that happen or not. Another concept that was floated out there was the 50-year mortgage, and I'm not even going to spend a lot of time on that. That is just a bad idea. Stop expanding the length of time that we're making payments. Get into your house, pay it off as quickly possible, and start enjoying that equity as soon as possible. And then breaking news today, Trump went ahead and put out made a note there on his social media platforms that his administration wants to block large institutional investors from buying single-family homes. Now, that is really interesting. Not sure how that's going to work, how that's going to play out. Here in Northwest Indiana, and I don't see a ton of that, but I know a lot of larger metro markets, especially in tourist-heavy markets, are affected by this quite a bit, to where these large institutional companies come in and they purchase single-family homes and then they turn them into Airbnbs. And I nothing against Airbnbs. I absolutely love them. But when inventory is struggling and you have a homeowner who wants to make that house their primary residence but can't because somebody beats them out with a cash offer and then just turns it into an Airbnb, that's another house that's removed from the market and from the housing inventory that could be used for a single family home. So that one is really interesting to watch moving forward here in 2026 to see how that will be received from Washington and the Senate and Congress there. So, all right, moving on into happenings here in Northwest Indiana. I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit of Bears and the Bears moving to Northwest Indiana. And first of all, congratulations to the Chicago Bears making it back to the playoffs. Very exciting. Green Bay on Saturday night should be an extremely good game and should be a great atmosphere, not only in Chicago, but here in Northwest Indiana as well. And while the Bears are preparing for the playoffs, there's been a couple of nuggets that came out about Northwest Indiana and the Bears here. I want to kind of touch on real quick, because after the Bears made their initial announcement that they were interested in pursuing sites here in Northwest Indiana for a potential stadium. It's kind of gotten swept under the rug a little bit after the initial excitement, and everybody kind of fell back into yeah, we've heard this before. Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, it ain't going to happen. And you know what? It probably isn't going to happen. But again, it's fun to talk about. And if it ever was going to happen, like I said before, this is the one time that it just feels just a tad different, that if things fell into place just right, the Bears could make a move. And I'm going to start off by a report that came out not long after their initial report of them looking at sites here in Northwest Indiana, that the Bears were actually doing their due diligence on a piece of land near Wolf Lake in Hammond. That's right there on the state line, which makes all the sense in the world, because they would want to be as close to the state line as possible, to be as close to their majority of their fan base there in Illinois. But they went ahead and started doing their due diligence, soil tests, engineering, etc., on this piece of land. Now, again, most people kind of swept it under the rug. Of course, they're doing their due diligence. That's part of the negotiation. That's what you do, including the Illinois House Speaker, who was quoted in an article in Crane's Business Journal yesterday, basically calling the Bears bluff and then going ahead and reiterating that this is not the time for the Bears to be asking for money. So Emmanuel Welch, again, in the Crane's Business Journal, in an interview in Crane's, called the Bears bluff about moving to Northwest Indiana. And when pressed about them checking out a site in Northwest Indiana and starting their due diligence, he came out and pretty much said, you know what, that's part of negotiations. The Bears are not going to Indiana. They want to stay in Illinois. And again, that's all just kind of pomp and circumstance of what the Bears are doing. They're trying to force our hand. And then he reiterated the fact that right now, the Illinois Assembly is not in any position and not really even willing to listen to the Bears' requests right now as far as any kind of assistance to get their stadium project up and running in Arlington Heights. You know, they kept talking about let's go back. When the Bears wanted to make the move, that was one of the big things that Kevin Warren said. He was getting frustrated with the lack of help and lack of assistance. You know, the Bears are sitting here saying, hey, we don't want you to build a stadium for us. We'll build our own stadium. We've done a lot for Chicago, a lot for Illinois. We just need a little help with the infrastructure here as far as tax incentives. And Illinois is just kind of turned away and said, yeah, we can't help you. Nothing we can do right now. We're not even interested in taking this up. So that's where the Bears' frustration came into play, and rightfully so. And the Illinois legislature, the Illinois General Assembly, again, is doubling down, saying that, hey, we're listening to our constituents out there, and they're talking about affordability and how hard it is to afford everyday items while we continue to tax them left and right. So another tax incentive for you guys, the Bears, probably isn't in our best interest right now as voters go to the polls here for the primaries in a couple months. So again, very interesting. Yeah, I know it's a pipe dream. It's not going to happen. But again, it's that one time, these little nuggets here, you kind of get a little bit here and there. And if Indiana came in and just made the Bears that offer they couldn't refuse, it could be one of those situations where Illinois is just, I hate to use the term arrogant, but, you're not leaving. Go ahead, chatter away because you're not going anywhere. You want to be in Illinois. And then the Bears turn around and after the Super Bowl announced that, hey, guess what? We're going to Northwest Indiana. I know it's a dream, but we'll keep talking about it until it's not. So, all right. Now, if the Bears should happen to make a move to Northwest Indiana, we are going to have more and more traffic than we already do. So, any of you that have ever driven along I-80 and 94 between the Illinois border and I-65 know that that stretch of highway is a nightmare. Always congested. Traffic, it seems like no matter what time of day you're on it, you could be stuck in a traffic jam. So INDOT is coming up with a creative way to relieve congestion along that stretch of roadway. Now, they're there is no land for expanding and making new lanes. And a lot of traffic experts you talk to will say, yeah, adding new lanes only adds more traffic. So you're really not doing anything there. So instead, INDOT is proposing a flex road project that is actually going to get started in spring of 2026, this spring. And that flex road project is going to add kind of alternative strategies to alleviate congestion. At least that's the plan. This flex road project will include adding metered on-ramps. So think of coming onto the on-ramp with basically a stoplight there. It will give you a red or green light to either continue onto the highway or wait until the light turns green until you go. So it kind of just helps alleviate the flow of traffic there coming in from the on-ramp. They're also going to add an adjustable speed limit. So depending upon how the traffic is flowing, if it's backed up and congested, the speed limit will drop. If things are flowing, the speed limit will raise. This is already underway on I-465 around Indianapolis. So that is something that is coming along as well. And then they're going to explore and adding in flexible shoulder use. This will be able to open up the shoulders of the road for when traffic does get congested, whether we need more lanes just to help traffic flow, or there's a accident in one of the lanes, having the shoulders available to act as an additional lane during those high traffic peaks or needs will be part of the flex plan as well. So will it work? I'm sure most of us here are kind of skeptical because they've been throwing things at that stretch of road for a while now, and it just, again, is always congested. But it's really cool that it's outside the box. It's not just adding more lanes and more roadway. Hopefully this works and will help alleviate congestion along 8094 here in the future. Now, the other thing that came out of Indianapolis here recently about Indiana highways, and this one is not even interesting, a little scary to me. But Indiana is exploring tolling options on their local highways. And they actually just asked for federal approval to install a toll along Interstate 70 in central Indiana. Now, Interstate 70 runs east and west through Indianapolis from Terre Haute to Richmond on the Ohio border. And they want to go ahead and tax cars that are using I-70 on a daily basis. Now, again, is this going to be a toll on out-of-state vehicles or all vehicles? We don't know yet. There's still a lot of moving parts and a lot of information out there, but the fact that they are exploring this option as a way to collect revenue to help pay for roads and infrastructure is very interesting, because another thing that happened along this journey to exploring tolling is there was a law that was overturned that there could be no new toll roads within, I believe, a 70-mile radius of the current Indiana toll road here in Northwest Indiana. Well, lawmakers quietly overturned that law. And now, could we see a toll road added into I-8094 to pay for this flex road, or along I-65? You know, we have some heavily traveled highways here in Northwest Indiana. It's not out of the possibilities of becoming a reality. So it's something to watch here in 2026. Contact your state legislature and your representatives there and kind of feel out what they're thinking. But yeah, it's definitely a possibility that we could see some toll roads added here in Northwest Indiana and throughout the state as well. All right, speaking of updates here, Indiana Dunes State Park is exploring a second entrance to their state park. Now, Indiana Dunes State Park is in Chesterton off of State Road 49, not the national park, the state park. And for those of us that have been there, you know, during peak times, during the holidays especially, or during the weekends, that line gets relatively long trying to get into the park if you go during the peak hours. So they're exploring adding a second entrance, and where they have identified a second entrance would be east of 49 along Tremont Road. Now, the problem with connecting Tremont Road from Chesterton to the Tremont Road in the state park is there's a railroad track that runs between them. So it would require an overpass to be built there. And if anybody knows anything about dealing with railroads, that could be quite tough. But it has, again, state representatives behind it. So they are definitely taking this serious and looking forward and trying to get that second entrance into the Indiana's Dune State Park. Now, on to data centers again. Talking about data centers because they're not going away anytime soon. I talked about the Hobart data center a little bit earlier, and now a new data center, a $5 billion investment is being proposed for South Lake County in the Lowell Hebron area. It would be south of State Road 2 and east of I-65. Again, in the early planning stages, went before the county council recently for kind of a early proposal. Nothing approved yet, but data centers continue to come to Northwest Indiana. And again, it doesn't, I don't know, how can I phrase this? It does matter what we think as residents here. We should push back if you believe that data centers shouldn't be here or cause health concerns. You don't want them using our resources or pushing up our utility bills. But unfortunately, they're not going away anytime soon. And again, I don't like to get political on here. I'm not talking conspiracy theories, etc. But if you read between the lines of anything that comes out of Washington, and when they talk about AI and data centers, they bluntly say that we need to keep pace with the rest of the world, particularly China, in what they're developing with AI, and data centers are needed to supply that power to keep up with that AI development. And they recently went ahead and told NIPSCO to pause the retirement of their coal-fired plants here in Northwest Indiana. So again, read between the lines here. We can fight as much as we want here, but at what point does the federal government come into play and kind of nudge these things into existence here? You know, when they're already kind of looking ahead into the future saying, you know what? Hey, we need to keep up. We need that power demand there. Alternative energy is not the answer to the power needed to run these centers. It's going to be years before any type of small modular nuclear facilities are approved and then constructed. So, hey, we have a source that's already there, ready to go. Put it on pause and start shoveling that coal again. So when you got the government saying that we're going to pause and put those coal plants back into production here, is the writing on the wall that these data centers are kind of, they're coming. I'll put it that way. So again, continue to talk to your local government there, stay on top of what's going on, but data centers aren't going away. It's going to be a battle throughout 2026 and beyond. Speaking of battles, there could be trouble brewing for Michigan City's luxury SoLa development. This one, a little bit surprising to me. It seemed like this development was pretty solid moving forward there, but it sounds like it's more on the hotel side than the residential side. And just to backtrack real quick, SoLa was a luxury development slated in the Washington Park area of Michigan City that would have high-end luxury condos, townhomes, hotel attached along with retail as well. A really cool concept, something that we do not see here in Northwest Indiana. But it sounds like they've had some issues with the hotel part of that. And Michigan City City Council recently let the agreement expire between the developer and the city. So basically that means the project is dead or on pause because the developers came back and said, hey, we want to get this done. We are not dropping this. And when you look at, they've already sold the residential part. You know, last I looked, it was more than 30% of the condos and townhomes have been sold in that development, pre-sold. So it's really on the retail hotel side that they're struggling with here is what it seems like. So again, the project is not dead. It seems to be more on a pause, and we'll keep an eye on that and let you know how that goes here as it moves forward into the future. So moving away from real estate real quick, I want to talk about the Crown Point boys basketball team. And let me tell you, they are really good. They have a chance to have a really special season. So if you're here in Northwest Indiana, you'd like to see some good high school basketball, and who doesn't if you're a Hoosier, get out there and check out the Crown Point boys basketball team. I recently saw them over the holiday break where they had a great run. They beat a great, or I should say a really good Indianapolis Cathedral team, a really good team from Hamilton Southeastern, and then went down to Brownsburg and beat a very talented Brownsburg team on their home court. And during that time, they were able to kind of, I don't want to say, get back on track, but they were able to kind of get back on track. And during that time, they were able to kind of, I don't want to say, get back on track, but they were able to kind of, I don't want to say, get back on track, but they were able to kind of, I don't want to say, get back on track, but they were able to kind of, I don't want to say, get back on track, but they were able to kind of, I don't want to say, get back on track, but they were able to kind of, I don't want to say, get back on track, but they were able to kind of, I don't want to say, get back on track, but they were able to kind of, I don't want to say, get back on track, but they were able to kind of, I don't want to say, get back on track, but they were able to kind of, I don't want to say, get back on track, but they were able to kind of, I don't want to say, get back on track, but they were able to kind of, I don't want to say, get back on track, but they were able to kind of, I don't want to say, get back on track, but they were able to kind of, I don't want to say, over the holiday break, I caught the Cathedral game, and let me tell you, the final score was close, but it wasn't that close of a game. Crown Point had a chance to put them away numerous times, but they missed a handful of wide open, uncontested dunks, and then they had some trouble at the free throw line as well that kept Cathedral hanging around there, which made it a little bit closer at the end than it probably was throughout the entire game. But that's a very talented Crown Point boys team. They got 2 D1 players in Dikembe Shaw and Mason Darrell, and then they have a very, very good experienced deep team there. So again, get out there, check out Crown Point boys basketball. Coach Swan has a great team there. He's a great guy, and hopefully they make a very deep run there as they start Duneland Athletic Conference play this week. So really encourage you, get out there, check out Crown Point boys basketball. And then finally, youth baseball signups have started throughout Northwest Indiana. It's always frustrating me that they put them right there at the start of January. Most parents are, hey, the holidays, we just got through the holidays, and kids getting back in school, and now you expect me to remember that baseball signups are happening. Well, they are. And here in Northwest Indiana, we have some very solid programs, so they do fill up quickly. So if you are new to the area and you like your son or daughter to play youth baseball, I strongly encourage you to check out the sites and get registered earlier. They do fill up. Crown Point Cal Ripken has a tremendous program. It's very large, and they do fill up quickly. St. John, Hammond, Cedar Lake, they have great programs as well. So again, if you are looking for your son or daughter to play youth baseball this year, don't forget that registrations are open and started. I'll put a link to a handful of the programs in the area, make it easy for you. You can check out as well down in the comments. So, all right, that's what's happening. That was a lot of information for you guys, but playing some catch up. A lot of great things happening here in Northwest Indiana in 2026. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks to everybody again for watching, subscribing, and participating in this podcast. If you haven't done so yet, I'd be honored if you hit that subscribe button, give it a thumbs up, and share this with anybody you know. And of course, any thoughts, comments, suggestions on what you want to hear in this podcast for 2026, please let me know. Thanks for watching. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you next week. Take care, guys.